Week 17, our last week in CIT93 JavaScript, my favorite. Of all my programming languages, JavaScript is definitely my favorite. I know you've heard me say it, but it's really true. I love coding in JavaScript. Now, what I'd like to say at week 17 is first just a reminder of those important dates, which I pulled from a couple weeks. I think it was week 16, so but you'll get to see them again because they're way important, right? So in this case, if I go to calendar, you can see recording this in week 16. And then you have a code along, you'll have a attendance code along, and then you'll have the finish and share. And this is where you'll both share out your final version of your carbon footprint, and also, because I have you do one last thing, and also you're sharing out your app, right? And then have you post some things there. But also the idea that, I talked about the 19th, so it's not on the actual course schedule, but it's important for you to understand the deadlines. Like if you want to submit late work, it needs to be done by Monday at noon. If you want to use a late pass, I recommend using late passes for project development stuff because it has the biggest impact on your grade. Last day to schedule yourself. We're coming up on it. It'll be next Friday for a code review or a technical interview. I actually called them code reviews in the past, and I was just watching a video from, anyway. So, your technical interview. And then, I put this here even though it's already passed, and I have put if you haven't scheduled yourself, remember you have until the 16th to do so, and that I will be removing your private and public repos. Now, for those of you that have been using local, not a problem. You'll still have those. They don't remove. You just won't be able to push code. You can update that repo locally to change it to a different repo if you wanted to put it in your own. But if you're using CodeSpace and you don't have all the setup done, you could, by the way, go back and look. Might be a good time to do that. But if not, you could actually zip that. You could actually create a zip file that you download if you want that. Okay? So so at this point, I'm at the end of the semester. We all are. And it's always at the end of the semester, I now have a plan for summer, but your input is valuable to me. You've already given me some great input for future students. You've given me great input for the AI reviews. These things will definitely be used as I rewrite this course for the fall 2025 semester. And really, one of the things I'm considering is where you now have a weekly review. I'm actually thinking of after I do a code along session and is actually putting more targeted reviews there, which I actually might end up calling code challenges, right? Because that would be the idea, is to actually give you a chance to interact with the AI there, code a short challenge that I would have, and then be able to ask additional questions. Because I think having them more targeted will actually help them operate better. That's been one of the challenges with these AI reviews, is the context window I've been throwing it, meaning the amount of content I've been throwing it, is a lot. And the AI quickly forgets, and often it's too friendly. And just, by the way, one of the things we found out was the reason some people were having errors is because the OpenAI API was timing out. And so we're having to code around that as well. And this is like, like I've told you, I really struggle with using these things in a sense that I always want to give students a good experience. But and your feedback helped me see this. It's like, yes, there are some things that worked well. Most of you I felt like you had a good experience with them, but definitely there's some things we need to change. But at this point, on this discussion, the thing I would appreciate is for you to think about, okay, here's what we've been through. We've done code alongs. Well, we've done attendance post. We've done code alongs, right? We've done code discussions where we actually share out what we're collectively, like a code challenge, and then see each other's code. That's the end of the week. And then the development projects, and then the interview, right? So there's definitely many components to a class like this. And your feedback for any of them, or in just general feedback for what you would have me consider as I move into a summer of rewrite, would be really helpful, because you are the customer, right? I am providing a product and you are the customer. And as a customer, your feedback to me is way important. So, and as anybody who, even if you're not running a business, just feedback in general, this is why it's important to me as much as I can to give feedback as students submit work, because it's like for me to ask you to do something and not give you some feedback. I can't give it as much as I want to everyone, but I really try to give it. But anyway, back to this. So the other thing is this carbon footprint that we code right through the semester is something that's really important to me. And I said in the beginning of the semester, I never wanted students, and I hope you didn't ever feel this, like guilty, like when you may put in your actual data, because that's not the point. The point for me was I use that because I think any of us who have have more awareness about how much footprint we have in the world, the better. But I also understand that I have privilege. I live in a house not too far from campus. I have solar, I have batteries, I have EV, I have things I've invested in because they're important to me, but I also have privilege that allows me to invest. And so I believe that, with that privilege should come things that focus on, for me, sustainability is important. But so I am so blessed in this world to do the job that I absolutely love, and it gives me enough freedom to do other things like building off-grid property up in the foothills. That's the other project that I'm actively working on, and this summer is definitely part of focusing that as I kind of look towards the last part of my career. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this job, but I really want to stay engaged as much as I can, because one of the things I've always thought when I first started teaching was like, I will know when I'm not being effective, but I think that's not true. I think students are actually our best indicator, but here's the thing. I've noticed so many students are sometimes almost scared to give faculty feedback. Let's say something doesn't work. And I am so sad about that because, that's not the kind of environment I want to create, but I get that you have maybe you've had that experience in my class. I hope not, but maybe in general and education, because again, you are the customer. I am the business providing you that. And I just am grateful for the job that I have to do it. I'm grateful for you and your feedback to me. I'll end with that is very helpful. So thanks for checking this video out, right? Your graded work is to reply with anything you want to ask me. You can ask me anything. At this point, I can say no. I can absolutely say, no, I'm not going to talk about that, right? But you're welcome to do that. But you could also, and then in this point, is consider something you would give me feedback on, like what you might consider. You could even do kind of what we did with the AI reviews, what worked well and what what could be improved. So that would be helpful as well. Right. And so I just gave some ideas here, but I'm going to be happy with whatever you want to write with this. And then complete a reply to another student, like you've now had interactions with students in this class. So, kind of say goodbye and thanks or whatever you feel moved to say to at least one person and maybe more than one. And again, look for students who don't have a reply. And after you post, come back and look at what they say. Okay? All right. Enough from me. Thanks. And by the way, Discord, hang out on Discord if you want. Of course, you don't have to. For those of you that haven't, you still can. I do post quite a bit of things that come my way on Discord. So I'll post jobs, or I post like the entrepreneur club, the startup club they call it. Like I post stuff like that and just general stuff. But also just, just know that my door is open. I always enjoy talking. Matter of fact, I often have at the end of technical interviews, if we have time, I often have discussions with students about their plans for the future. Like where are they going? What is it they, and I always say, come, let this not be the end of our connection, but also that it could endure or not. Like I'm not invested that it has to. but I do enjoy it. And that's part of what I like about the Discord community is that they're out there. So anyway, get this week done. Ask any questions that you have regarding the end of the semester. And I would say I'll see you soon, but I may or may not see you soon. I hope you have a great summer and a great rest of your spring 2025 and on to summer if you're taking it, and then on to fall. I should have said this earlier. So if you're hanging out this long, thank you. I am teaching 2 sections of this class next semester. So if you know anyone that might be interested in learning some programming skills, specifically in JavaScript, please do me a favor. Again, you're the best way to help advertise this, and I appreciate that. All right, talk to you later. Bye.